I just smiled, wiped lake water off my hands, and kept staining the last plank. Because I knew something Cynthia Beaumont, the queen bee of Oakwood Lakes HOA, didn't. She was about to learn the hard way that some rules aren't hers to rewrite. Oakwood Lakes was the kind of neighborhood realtors called charming, and everyone who lived there called a velvet cage with a $400 monthly fee. Perfect lawns, matching mailboxes, zero personality allowed after 6 p.m. I'd moved here 2 years ago after my divorce, thinking quiet lake views and zero drama would be healing. Wrong. Cynthia had been gunning for me since day one. I'd politely declined her invitation to the annual Wine and Wine Charity Gala, something about not wanting to pay $150 to listen to her brag about her summer in the Hamptons for the 4th year running. That was strike one. Strike two came when I put up solar lights on my walkway instead of the approved warm white LED pathway fixtures. She'd sent 3 violation notices in 1 week. But the dock? That was strike 3 in her mind. I'd spent $6,800 in every weekend for a month replacing the old rotted monster that nearly killed my dog last winter. Every board pressure treated. Every bolt torqued to spec. And, most importantly, a shiny state permit from the Department of Natural Resources taped right to the piling, visible from 50 yards away. Cynthia didn't care about any of that. She planted her Tory birch sandals on my grass. Clipboard raised like a battle flag. Section 7.2 of the covenants clearly states no waterfront modifications without board approval. This is an eyesore. Property values are tanking. I didn't even look up. Funny. Zillow says my place went up 12% since I finished it. Her smile twitched, the same twitch she got when someone parked 2 inches over the line at the community pool. The HOA has final say. Always has. Except when it doesn't, I said. Finally standing. I pulled the laminated permit from my back pocket and held it out like a peace offering. State jurisdiction. Shoreline starts 5 feet before my dock. Read the fine print. Or don't. Your choice. She snatched it. Her eyes scanned. Her lips moved like she was trying to will the words to change. When she hit the official seal, the color drained from her face so fast I almost felt bad. Almost. This doesn't count, she hissed. You still bypassed our architectural review. I pointed to page 9 of the bylaws I'd highlighted weeks ago, because I'd seen this coming the second she started circling my property like a shark. Article 19. State-regulated structures are exempt. You signed off on that language yourself in 2019. Remember? She didn't answer. Just spun on her heel and power walked away. Heels stabbing the gravel like she was trying to murder it. I went back to staining. But I left the security camera on. I'd learned that lesson the hard way. 3 days later I found the cease and desist duct taped to my front door at 6:47 a.m. Not mailed. Duct taped. Like I was a wanted poster in an old western. Immediate removal required. Daily fines of $250 until compliance. Cynthia Beaumont, President. I laughed so hard I woke the neighbor's beagle. That night I sat at my kitchen table with a 6-pack and the full 41-page HOA charter. Buried on page 27 was the kill shot. Any enforcement action involving potential jurisdictional disputes must include a third-party surveyor's report. They hadn't even bothered. Next morning I drove to the county recorder's office. Got the original plat maps. And highlighted the bright red line where Oakwood Lakes ended and state land began. Then I scanned everything. Attached the state permit. And emailed the entire board with the subject line, requesting immediate retraction before this gets expensive. 2 hours later. A reply from their legal advisor, a woman named Marla whose signature block said she was passionate about harmonious living. We are reviewing. In the meantime, please cease all activity on the dock. I replied with a photo of the finished dock. A cold beer on the railing. And the caption, "Activity ceased 3 weeks ago. Catch up." That's when the real fun started. I woke up to orange spray paint screaming across my new planks, "Illegal." Big, drippy letters. Like a toddler having a tantrum with a can of Rust-Oleum. I called the sheriff before I even made coffee. Deputy Ramirez showed up in 20 minutes. Took one look at the dock. And muttered, "Jesus. Not this again." I showed him the footage. 1:14 a.m. Cynthia Beaumont, wearing a black hoodie pulled over her perfect blonde bob, creeping down my lawn with a can in her hand like a budget Banksy. Ramirez actually chuckled. She usually walks with paint at 1 a.m. Only when she's feeling artistic. By noon the whole neighborhood knew. My buddy Marcus from 2 doors down leaned over the fence with a fresh cup of coffee. "Dude. Emergency board meeting tonight. Cynthia's telling everyone you threatened her. Said your dock is emotionally endangering the community." I nearly spit out my drink. Emotionally endangering? That's a new one. The meeting was held in the clubhouse, the same beige room where they once fined a guy $500 for having Christmas lights up past January 15th. 37 people showed. Record turnout. Even the reclusive couple who only came out for the 4th of July showed up. Cynthia stood at the podium in a cream blouse. Looking every inch the wrong suburban saint. We cannot allow one resident to undermine the standards we all agreed to when we bought here. I stood up in the back. "Funny you mention standards," I said. Voice calm. "Because according to the county surveyor I hired this morning," I held up the official report, "my dock is 22 feet into state land." "You knew that. You just didn't like it." Murmurs rippled. Someone in the back whispered, "I told you she was full of it." Cynthia's smile froze. "That report is paid for by me," I finished. "Not the HOA. Which means you can't dismiss it. And by the way," I tapped my phone, "I have audio of you on a recorded line last week telling Marla the dock needs to go because it blocks your view of the sunset from your sunroom." Dead silence. Then the clapping started. Slow at first. Then louder. Cynthia's face went the color of a ripe tomato left in the sun too long. She stormed out. The board president, a spineless accountant named Greg, mumbled something about further review and adjourned the meeting in under 4 minutes. I stayed in my seat until the room emptied. Letting the applause wash over me like the first cold beer after a long week. But I knew Cynthia. She wasn't done. She was just reloading. The next bomb dropped a week later. I was pressure washing the dock when an unmarked county car pulled up. 2 detectives got out. The taller one flashed a badge. "Mr. Ellis? We're investigating possible embezzlement at the Oakwood Lakes HOA." I turned off the hose. "Took you long enough." They'd gotten an anonymous tip, turns out it was from a former board treasurer who'd finally grown a spine. Over $187,000 missing from the reserve fund over 4 years. Fake invoices. Shell companies. And the kicker? One of the invoices was for emergency shoreline remediation at my address. $14,500. I showed them my folder, the one I'd kept since the first violation notice. Every email. Every permit. Every highlighted bylaw. The lead detective actually whistled. "You kept all this? Call it a hobby." 2 days later subpoenas rained down like confetti at a divorce party. Cynthia's laptop. Greg's hard drives. Marla's cloud storage, everything. The neighborhood exploded. People who'd never spoken to me started waving when I walked the dog. One lady brought over banana bread and whispered, "I always knew she was stealing." She fined me $300 for having the wrong mulch. Then the audio came out. At the emergency town hall. The prosecutor played the recording from Cynthia's own Ring camera. Ironic. Right? Her voice. Crystal clear. If we keep piling violations on Ellis, he'll sell cheap. That lot's worth double what he paid. We flip it. Take our cut. And nobody's the wiser. The room went so quiet you could hear the ice machine in the back. Cynthia sat in the front row. Legs crossed. Trying to look bored. But her hands were shaking so hard her giant diamond tennis bracelet rattled against the folding chair. When the sheriff stepped forward with the warrant, she finally broke. "You people have no idea what I've done for this community," she shrieked as the cuffs clicked. "I kept the property values up. The rest was muffled by the crowd's roar. Not boos. Cheers. Actual, honest-to-God cheers. I stood in the back again. Arms crossed. Watching them drag her out in her matching Lululemon set. For the first time in 2 years. The air in Oakwood Lakes didn't feel like it was trying to choke me. 6 months later the new board posted the full audit online. $214,000 stolen. 3 houses quietly flipped to Cynthia's cousin's LLC at rock-bottom prices. A whole shadow economy built on $250 fines and fear. Cynthia took a plea. 5 years. Restitution. Lifetime ban from any HOA in the state. I kept the dock. Sanded off the orange paint. Added a little bench at the end so I could sit and watch the sunsets she tried to steal from me. Neighbors started having actual block parties, no sign-up sheets. No approved snack list. Kids rode bikes without helmets getting inspected. Someone even painted their mailbox hot pink. One evening Marcus came over with a 6-pack. We sat on the dock. Feet dangling over the water. "You know," he said. A lot of us were scared of her. Like. Actually scared. I nodded. "That's how they win." He clinked his bottle against mine. To the guy who finally said enough. I didn't answer. Just watched the water ripple. Because the real win wasn't the applause or the headlines or even watching Cynthia get walked out in cuffs. The real win was the quiet. The kind of quiet where nobody's watching your grass length. Nobody's measuring your holiday lights. Nobody's trying to steal your peace with a clipboard and a smile. And that was worth every single word of the 3,000+ pages of paperwork I still have in my garage. So here's the question. Folks, be honest. When the HOA Karen finally goes too far, are you the neighbor who stays quiet and pays the fine? Or are you the one who keeps the receipts and burns the whole system down with them? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're dealing with your own clipboard-wielding nightmare right now, save this video. You might need it sooner than you think.